Mr. Parekh, thanks very much for taking out the time. Your initial take on this entire event?
Well, I mean, the thing has been sort of, a bit of a challenge for the banking system for almost, the time the new leader came in after the change of the previous CEO. And, we all knew that there was going to be a huge need for more capital, almost about 30 to about 40,000 crores worth of additional capital had to be raised. There was a good effort in the last sort of, during that period of 1 year to bring in the investors. I'm sure, looking at the names that came out in the press, that several investors, overseas investors were approached by the bank and to really put in capital, but then that did not happen. Gradually it was building up a pressure on the regulator also, and on the government, because there was a larger systemic risk that was brewing up, on account of this. The trigger point was perhaps yesterday, and bond was the trigger point. The inability on the part of the bank really to redeem, caused a certain amount of trigger. And the first trigger was a moratorium. The moratorium will only be working till the 3rd of April. So between 6 o'clock of yesterday, 5th March, till about 3rd of April, let's say no deposit holder can withdraw an amount more than 50,000 rupees. And in certain cases, even there are restrictions on payments. The regulator has made sure that the banking system does not suffer. So interbank, repo market, and the other banks should not suffer. So therefore, those payments will be allowed to be made by Yes Bank. So that's the moratorium. The larger story seems to be that now the regulator is convinced that this bank will have to be really merged. So there is, in yesterday's notification, a mention of amalgamation. And then they're seeking a 30-day period. The board has been superseded. So the board has been now changed. RBI will, in consultation with the new, receiver from State Bank of India, will work within 30 days towards a plan under which some large bank can really take over. We're talking about SBI at this point in time. We are talking about the possibility of one more investor or a couple of investors, such as LIC, also joining the consortium. But those are, I suppose, still in some form or the other speculations or discussions. One has to really wait for this 30-day period when the regulator will come out with a proper process under which, the amalgamation will happen, what will be the way in which, let's say, the shareholders of Yes Bank will be compensated, and then, of course, most importantly for the regulator, how the system, and how the bank gets stability so that the depositor holders' interest is protected. So, a lot of it, but it was, I'm sure, brewing up for quite a while now. And I thought somewhere along that the real issue is the quality of the book of Yes Bank. That's one of the reasons why the investors didn't come forward, because there is that confidence, that the investor has, that seems to have sort of, got shaken up. But that's the event, of yesterday's, and the banking system will be, it's a major development in the banking system.
Mr. Parekh, just one quick follow-up to that. You mentioned that an eventual merger, if not SBI, who? The size of the asset base that they have, who else?
Well, exactly. See, I'll tell you, looking at the mere size, the sheer size of the whole, systemic risk on hand for the regulator. If the deposit holders, of the total amount of 205,000 crores have to be addressed, then I'm sure a very large balance sheet such as SBI, can only really play an important role in stabilizing the whole thing. So I don't think we should really discuss in terms of who's benefiting, who's losing. At this point in time, the real issue is that the bank has to be stabilized. The deposit holders' interest has to be protected. I suppose the shareholders' interest, both SBI, or any other bank, any other institution that takes this over, and the shareholders of Yes Bank may come a little later in terms of the interest, the interest the regulator would like to protect. But I would certainly say that, yes, it's a precursor to some kind of a merger. And perhaps it should, and then, I would certainly say that there's a good justification in it going the SBI way.